everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be dialing in from around the world. Thank you all for joining us today and spending the next hour with us for today's webinar, the 100-Day CISO Reset Plan, presented by IT Group Senior Cybersecurity Analyst Terry Schreider. I'm Lori Spenley, and I'll be one of your hosts for today's webinar. We'll be starting the webinar shortly, but first let me just take care of a few quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar will be recorded, and a link to view the recording on demand will be available to all current IT Group clients. We'll be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so please feel free to submit your questions using the questions feature located in the GoToWebinar toolbar to the right of your screen. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Terry Schreider is a senior analyst at IT Group, specializing in cybersecurity, information assurance, security program architecture, and maturity improvement. He lives in metropolitan Atlanta and brings more than 40 years of security, privacy, and recovery management to IT Group. So without further ado, I'll turn the mic over now to Tari. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope you enjoy today's webinar.
Thank you, Lori, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are joining us within the world. So I'm really excited about today's content. It has been 5 years in the making, and maybe even longer, as I've been doing this for quite some time. So as a CISO or a CISM, whichever you prefer, but Chief Information Security Officers have a limited period of time to make an indelible impression on their organization's board of directors, as well as their management team. And so you have an opportunity to establish yourself as a visionary or the same old CISO. And I'm hoping as you go through this presentation, you will find real actionable takeaways that you can use in your organization today. The material that I'm going to talk about is completely suitable whether you're already in the CISO seat in an organization where you have been fighting the adversaries for some time, or you're going to be starting a new CISO position. And you are probably, if you've been around the block a few times, then you're familiar with the old adage, it's not if, but when you'll be attacked. And CISO should always focus on the outcomes that provide meaningful reductions in operational risk. Now, there have been other 100-day CISO plans that have come before this one. I would rather suspect most of you have either read one or two white papers on 100-day plans or have attended other seminars talking about what you can do in 100 days. But this one is going to be a little bit different. This one is really going to be focused on what can you do today to have a meaningful impact. And the barbarians are already at the gate. And you have 100 days to get it right. Now, by no stretch of the imagination am I suggesting that you drop your essential planning activities. Things like architecture design, improving risk management programs, integrating with the compliance monitoring program or ERM or whatever. What I'm suggesting is put those on the shelf for now. And this approach that I created was from working with hundreds, probably close to 300 CISOs over the last 5 years in intensive 1-week CISO leadership courses. And I think that you'll find that many of the things we're going to talk about today are going to ring true, but they need to go from planning to be done in the future to be done now. So let's take a little look at the agenda. And what this is really set to do is to structure the presentation to show you how you can reset your InfoSec program for maximum effectiveness within 100 days. And if you could identify 20% of your program to provide 80% of your information protection, I think you could probably say that that would be a win. And also share with you those 10 things that every CISO should know and how to protect those organizations. So we're going to walk through the plan. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight a few vendors that we run into in the course of a year. Now, being an analyst at the IT Group, it's an absolutely wonderful position because I get paid to learn about cybersecurity, and I get paid to peek around the corner, and I get paid to get briefings from companies with new and emerging technologies that maybe you haven't heard of. And so sprinkled throughout the presentation are going to be some spotlights on some of this technology that you may want to avail yourself of. And then, of course, we'll talk about why does each point matter, and then what are some of the next steps that you would want to take for each point.